We're heading on our way down to the match. Hello and welcome to the group stage finale of the Super League Championship. Josh Utter-Leyton pilots a Jeskai Mentor deck. Paul Rietzl has black-white mid-range. Both players would love to make the playoffs, and they are live for it, but step one is they got to win this match. Then they're going to have to watch and see what happens between Chris and Li Shitian in the next match. You gotta read on these hands. Who do you think's in a good spot here, Chris?
Well, we got turn 2 carrier draw, so Paul's plan is working. So Paul has drawn his one Secure the Waste and a Gideon. So he's actually I mean, you really don't need to draw multiple Secure the Waste, I guess, the way most of these games play out. So it's kind of worked. This is a very good opening hand for him. Especially because of the structure of Josh's deck. You know, he's really reliant on the mentors, and then he has this Stasis Snare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Paul's correct.
Josh's hand is a little harder for me to evaluate, but it looks good. But his deck is a little bit weak to Gideon, which is true of many of the Jeskai decks.
It does also feel like he's very dependent on that one Monastery Mentor, right? It's the only creature in his draw.
Yeah, he's going to draw a lot of cards. And
he is. He'd rather be throwing off, monks as he draws those cards. I mean, just looking at the Stasis Snare in Paul's hand that you pointed out earlier,
what do you think about? So Paul chose not to play Hangerback there, I guess because he wants to, because he knows the Hangerback's not important, so he wants to be able to Stasis Snare, Monastery Mentor,
or Mantis Rider, right? Whatever. Right. Josh has a lot of good free drops. That is pretty interesting.
He wants to be able to deal with the threat, untap Gideon, because he knows that the Hangerback Walker is just not important, and I totally agree with him.
Yeah, and it turns out the threat Josh deployed was a Jace Vryn's Prodigy that came off the top of his deck. Stasis Snare stops that just as well.
Because Mentor can get so out of hand in Josh's deck, I think that's why Paul's thinking he's like, I'm going to have to deal with Mentor. I'm going to want to deal with Jace. So I'm just going to make sure I can cast Gideon on turn 4 because I don't want to take any chances.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people, if they just picked up his deck, would have done that differently.
I agree with you. Pretty smart. It's almost like Paul's in the Hall of Fame and ranked number 3 in the world or something. All right, here is the Monastery Mentor. Josh kind of baited that Stasis Snare with his Jace, so this Mentor might just stick.
Did he choose not to play a land?
He did. Well, it's because he's got Magmatic Insight, which requires him to discard a land.
Yeah, this is really... So he could have cast Insight and hoped to draw a land and play the Mentor, but I guess it's just not... This is where his deck plays out pretty awkwardly sometimes. It seems like it's a little bit prone to drawing kind of the wrong mix, even though he draws a lot of cards. It's kind of counterintuitive, but it seems like he's had a lot of games where he had to... Or maybe his hand lag. Maybe his hand can't...
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of lag with his hand cam. I thought he had a Smoldering March, though. Oh,
I think that is the mountain. My bad.
It. That's what's going on.
The hand cam.
Can we open Josh's graveyard? That might make it a little easier to follow what's going on here.
Yeah, the hand cam definitely threw me off there. So he did not have...
Got it. It was a Bloodstained Mire, which he sacked from the mountain. That's what happened. That makes way more sense. Meanwhile, Paul Rietzl firing up Gideon, turning him into a creature, charging across. Josh not interested in blocking any of those. Wow, look at the main phase Secure the Waste.
Yeah,
Paul playing around Dispel.
He knows he's playing against main deck counter spells, and it's just like the perfect draw for Paul.
And played super well. There were a lot of opportunity. He could have played the hanger back instead of the stasis snare being a worse spot. A lot of people wait for the last moment to play their instance. You don't have to wait when it's an instant. You can just pretend it's a sorcery and play it when your opponent is tapped out, which is exactly what Paul does here.
Yeah, this is just 100% knowing the weaknesses of Josh's deck and punishing him for it. I do think that in some ways these decks are both slightly more. Both decks feel slightly more exploitable. Like if you know how they're built, like these decks would both be much better off if we didn't have deck lists, I think. Like it's kind of like they're like when you play a deck that usually when you're playing a rogue deck that not many people are playing, it is often because your deck is not as good. I mean, I don't know if these guys really truly believe they're playing the best decks in standard right here. But if you go to a tournament, if you're playing something off the radar, you gain that advantage at least. Like you're not as punished for playing a worse deck that you might normally be. But in this case, they just have your deck list.
Gideon, emblem, everybody's +1/+1. This attack's just lethal now, right?
Yeah. It's a perfect draw against Josh's deck.
Indeed. Perfect draw, piloted perfectly as well. And Paul Rietzl looking to get his first win of the group stage, which could be good enough. He can actually potentially win a 3-way tiebreaker at 1 and 2 should you lose to Lishi TM.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't that draw just make you want to have more Secure the Waste and more Gideons in your deck?
Yeah, sure. And we talked about this a little bit in the pregame. I think Paul is, in the process of brewing this black-white at the point where he submitted it for this group. I don't know that. No, I'm sure Paul doesn't think he has the best deck in standard. Josh might, right? Josh might legitimately believe that Jeskai the best and that Mentor's the way to build Jeskai. But I know Paul is just trying to see what he can do with what he knows are somewhat off-the-wall strategies, or at least out of the mainstream strategies.
Mentor has not really impressed me. But
now he keeps getting trapped with those magnetic insights in his hand with no land. That's what happened that hand again, right?
Yeah, and that happened last week as well, right?
Exactly. He had 3 land in this game 1. He played his Mentor. He untapped with magnetic insight in hand, top decked a second magnetic insight, and just had to say go, doing nothing on turn 4.
I'm a little surprised Paul Ob Nixilis doesn't seem amazing in this matchup, but maybe when they don't have Mantis Rider, it's better. Although it's not great against Dragonlord Silumgar, possibly. Obviously, the Wingmate rocks are great in this matchup, but that makes his mana curve extremely high.
True. Yeah, you can see it there. He's sorted by mana cost, so
yeah,
3 ones.
That is a very. I mean, obviously the hangerbacks are making it look a little wrong there, but that's still a very high mana curve.
Yeah,
especially for a game where you're on the draw. But Josh's deck is a little strange. I'm not sure. I don't fully understand the ramifications of Josh's build and how that changes the decks.
Is that a land on the left edge of Josh's hand? What's that card? It's a Bloodstained Mire. So 2 land and 3 Jaces. Sounds like a keeper.
Yeah.
Paul's also going to keep his 2-lander. Didn't seem quite as obvious, but I mean 2 lands on the draw with a bunch of good spells should be fine.
He's got one of his 2 Gideons, so in a great Gideon matchup. Now, do you think that Josh just needed to fetch a battle land on turn 1, or that Dragon Master Outcast maybe attacking for 3 damage or something just doesn't matter, or against a deck with 5 sweepers, he'd just rather not play it anyway? Probably just a combination of all those things.
Yeah, I mean, I think he only had 2 lands in the opener, and he wanted to get as many colors as possible. He has now drawn more lands.
And it's a little difficult to analyze his Jace decisions when I know his hand cam might have a little lag. But he's probably going to dump one of these extra Jaces at some point, because having multiple backup Jaces doesn't really seem necessary.
Yeah, backup Jace feels all right, but second backup Jace doesn't seem.
He's got Disdainful Stroke now, which is very good in the matchup.
Yeah, this draw doesn't look like it's going to work out nearly as well for Paul. Some of that is being on the draw. Some of that is his opponent sticking a Jace on turn 2. But
yeah, being on the draw is definitely part of it. He didn't. Oh yeah, wait. So we don't know what he discarded because the hand cam issue.
Well, we can open up the graveyard. There's no lag on the graveyard.
So he got rid of the outcast because he has Ojutai's command. I don't know about the decision tree there, whether you discarded Jace or Dragon Master Outcast. What's preferable? So Paul's got to decide what he wants to do about Jace.
Uh-huh.
And he decides he'd rather just guarantee he gets to 5 mana. By playing it, coming to play tap land, he knows he's going to be able to Wingmate Rock.
He's going to be able to play a 4-mana spell on turn 4 and a 5-mana spell on turn 5 now.
Because his deck, even though it's only 2 colors, he is playing 4 of the gain life lands, right? So he actually does have 8 lands that come into play tapped, despite being a 2-color deck.
Indeed. And Shambling Vent is one of the rewards he gets for only being 2 colors.
Oh, yeah, sure. Shambling Vent is great.
All right. Josh activates his Jace again. It's not yet going to flip.
There goes the extra Jace. So now he's got 1 extra Jace in his hand. 1 of each command, a disable stroke, and he should have just drawn something. He's just going to be saying go here for a while.
I mean, he's sitting on Ojutai's command, Kolagon's command. It makes sense.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see what he decides to do with this hanger back. Like if he just fires off Kolagon's command to try to take it out when it's before it gets out of control, or whether he's just going to try to play a game where he ignores it. So now Paul
stares over an untapped Ojutai's command mana.
Right. So I think how many you really have to decide how many disdainful strokes they need for you to play around it.
You think
Paul, so Josh has 4 disdainful stroke in his sideboard.
Only 4?
Only 4. So that actually is super annoying, right?
Well, he's going to go for Gideon anyway. I mean,
man.
I mean, he doesn't want to do nothing. What was he supposed to do? Attack with Shambling Vent? All right, so he does play the Gideon. It does get disdainful stroked.
And here's the thing with that. So Jace is going to have to like flash back Magnetic Inside or just start plussing to stop the beats. Like, not a lot of awesome things to flash. I guess flashing back Magnetic Inside is good. It's not. He's going to have to do that. He would have to give up his Ojutai's command. So I'm guessing he's probably just going to plus it.
Magnetic Insight's been found a bunch of lands, so flashing it back is maybe more attractive.
Yeah, but next turn he can flash it back and have Ojutai's command up, which seems better.
Sure. Yeah, this turn plus play a land and say go.
I mean, you can't let yourself get Wingmate rocked, right? His deck is not
Agreed.
Wingmate rocked. And and Paul doesn't have a lot of. Maybe he has 3 rocks.
I do think from Paul's perspective, part of the reason he was willing to feed that Gideon to a disdainful stroke is that he's trying to clear a path for Wingmate Rock.
Right, because every card in his deck is disdainful strokeable. That is a problem. That's why 4 disdainful stroke is just extremely good against him.
All right, Josh has now opened up his graveyard. I think we can now see his entire hand on camera now. Jace was the card that you could just see an inch of that now is appearing at full size.
I gotta imagine he's just gonna plus. He already plus Jace, right? Okay, right. Plus Jace and up man.
Yep. Second Wingmate Rock. Interesting. Now you just attack and play 1, right?
I think so. I don't.
That's a bluff of Ojutai's command. I mean, it's probably not, but what else are you gonna do? Bait with Hangerback, maybe? Okay, he's gonna bait with Hangerback. Here's a 2/2 Hangerback Walker, Josh Utter-Leyton. Do you want to spend your Ojutai's command on this?
Yeah. So I don't know if this means anything. I'm just trying to figure out, does that mean that Paul thinks that Wingmate Rock is more important than Gideon? Or I guess he could have played the Hangerback. He could have played this Hangerback for 2 the turn he cast Gideon.
Agreed. I think Wingmate is the card that he most wants to resolve.
Wingmate is extremely good in this matchup. There's no question. It is
And now
so
he's off.
interesting to me. It is so interesting to me how good Wingmate Rock seems in this format. And it felt that way the very first weekend. I went to 2 PPTQs and played Abzan in both.
Okay.
And Wingmate Rock was just everything. It just felt like Wingmate Rock was absolutely all that mattered in so many games. And I'm still not sure how Wingmate Rock was so good against Elspeth. But now that Elspeth is gone, Wingmate Rock seems even better, which is a total opposite of the Silumgar thing we were talking about last week, where the Elspeth Gideon thing has switched which Silumgar is good. But Wingmate Rock, while being really good against old Elspeth, it somehow just feels so much better in this format. Now maybe that's because Wingmate Rock is taking the place of Elspeth. And back when you got that dejected Elspeth feeling before, now it's just the dejected Wingmate Rock feeling.
Sure.
And you couldn't really play that many 5 and 6 drops in the old format, because I feel like the old format was a little bit faster. You had like the Andrew Boswell style Abzan aggros around and that sort of thing. So the format was a little bit faster before, I think. So maybe you couldn't play, many Wingmate Rocks and many Elspeths. But man, Rock just feels amazing right now. So
now this Wingmate, I was going to say, this Wingmate Rock is potentially going to run into Dragon Master Outcast. And yeah, Paul he's not even going for Wingmate here. It turns out the coast is clear. He could have stuck a Wingmate, but he can't let Dragon Master Outcast keep going.
No, absolutely not.
So yeah, he's going to spend his entire turn 6 on a stasis snare.
Yeah, and here's this is interesting. I was about to say that this is where Paul's just going to get buried if he ever draws Dig Through Time, but Josh doesn't have Dig Through Time. It's Treasure Cruise.
Yeah.
Which is much more likely to brick, obviously. So, but there's not still an Outcast in the yard, is there? No, that's a Magnetic Insight, right?
Yep, Magnetic Insight. Josh draws a Disdainful Stroke, so the 1-turn window where Wingmate could have resolved is gone now. But I do think Paul had to deal with Dragon Master Outcast.
It is hard to imagine Paul winning this game.
Really? I mean, it feels close-ish to me, just because Wingmate Rock is such a huge threat.
Yeah, but now that Josh has a Disdainful Stroke, so the first Wingmate Rock is already done.
And Jace is gaining value every turn. Yeah, I see it. I'm not saying Paul's favored. I just don't think it's over.
So what is his plan here as far as the hanger back? I thought maybe he would finally just give up and Culligan's command the hanger back and just deal with the 4/1/1 somehow.
All right. Well, Paul's
just
attack. Wow.
Wow, just a chump block.
Well, we know his plan.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like if Josh's deck can't win this game, I feel like that's somewhat of an indictment of the deck.
Yeah, he's supposed to win from here for sure.
You have active Jace for a really long time, and you're losing to the card that's like the most played card in Standard. Just this like Hammerback Walker. So he flashback Ojutai's command. He's finally going to give up on the Jace. He's going to play another Jace, I'm guessing. Oh man, is Paul finally just going to? Is he going to Hangerback or is he going to Languish?
I mean, he can
Wingmate Rock or Languish. I mean,
he's got a window to do whichever he thinks is better. And then if he languishes, he's also got to decide. I assume he wants the 4 Thopters rather than a 5/5 Hangerback.
Man, I don't. Well, he has to.
But he does have his choice,
right? He's got to attack Jace. So, if he attacks Jace, does he think Josh will chump block again? I would think no. He has to assume Josh is happy to have his Jace go away because he has a replacement Jace. Does that make you want to languish? But you also know that Josh's outs to Wingmate Rock are kind of just Dragonlord Silumgar.
Right. Hangerback does head for the red zone.
Or outrace a Wingmate Rock with Mentor. So he's going to go for Languish.
Wow. He goes for the Jace. Josh is like, I've got a backup, no problem. And here's the Languish.
Yeah, this is not looking good for Josh.
Crazy.
I don't know. This is just like, what is Culligan's Command? If Culligan's Command doesn't do anything in games like this, what does it do for you ever?
Fair. Josh does top deck a Treasure Cruise. Does get to draw 3 cards. We have a little lag on our hand cam. We can't see what they are yet. I don't know. I would expect hand cam lag for, Li Shi Tian, who's calling in from Asia. But Josh is in Denver. It shouldn't be this hard to get a good internet signal. Mentor, Stroke, and second Kolaghan's Command.
Yeah, I feel like he just has to... Well, he can definitely outrace Hangerbacks with a combination of Seeker of the Way and Monastery Mentor.
Mm-hmm. Don't know if he can outrace Wingmate Rock, though.
Well, he has to leave up Disdainful Stroke. I mean, although he could... he could... I could see him not leaving it up. Because he
kind of needs that Seeker on the table, doesn't he?
He does have 2 Culligan's Commands that he could cast the next turn, and he could kill the rock that gains life and kill 2 tokens.
True.
And get 2 prowess triggers. So that's pretty good. So he could kill the real Wingmate and 2 tokens. Except that, right, so maybe he could cast Seeker the way this turn. This is interesting. But yeah, I know I lost to Josh, but I feel like me losing to Josh was more just me losing to Dragonlord Silumgar.
Sure. There's Kolaghan's Command to take down the 1/1 Hangerback.
Oh, what a draw! Oh, and he made him discard.
So he made him discard, and make him discard the Wingmate Rock. So that was a great Kolaghan's Command. Making him discard the Wingmate Rock worked out insane. Stasis Snare, pretty good draw for Paul, though.
Right, but don't you think that not getting Seeker the Way onto the table just kills you? Like, don't you need that life really badly?
You knocked a Wingmate Rock out of his hand. That had to be good.
Yeah, but I just feel like he's going to lose to these...
He's going to lose to the 5 Flyers?
To the 5 Flyers, yeah.
He's at 7. Oh, Radiant Flames!
Wow.
Radiant Flames for 1, so that the monk even survives. That was a pretty good top deck.
That was a very good top deck. Look at that. Was an incredible
Wow.
Wow.
Calculated. He had it the whole time.
Him having Radiant Flames wasn't even on my radar, but it totally makes sense, obviously.
Wasn't in his hand. It was on top of his deck, right where he wanted it. Unbelievable.
Wow. That was amazing.
Paul played this game quite well. I thought he was actually going to win through that active Jace, but this Radiant Flames top deck is going to be hard to recover from. Shambling Vents can't win this game from here, can they?
Well, it's going to be hard because if you assume that Josh casts, well, it is 25-3, so it's not like...
Yeah, he can't. He's going to have to trigger Seeker a lot of times before he kills Paul. Kolaghan's Command can trigger it this turn, right?
Yeah, he's probably going to Kolaghan's Command and get back a Mentor, right? And cast it?
Oh, that's pretty good.
Or is Mentor is Stasis Snared. He'd have to get back a Jace.
Still not bad.
No, it's not bad.
And gain 3 life, of course.
Although Jace actually does surprisingly little against the Shambling Vents. Because he doesn't have any spells he can flashback that do anything against Shambling Vent. I guess he already flashbacked his Ojutai's command, so he has no more ways to gain life, I believe.
No lag on Paul Rietzl's hand cam, by the way. He just was hellbent, no cards in hand. And now he top decks an Obnixilis, but disdainful stroke over there. Wow, Josh did nothing with his Kolaghan's command. He's going for the draw step Kolaghan's command.
Draw step Kolaghan's command.
Yeah, discard a card. So, wow, 2 Kolaghan's commands have gotten a Wingmate Rock and now an Obnixilis.
I'm trying to decide if I even like that play when you have disdainful stroke in your hand. Because
I mean, it also means he did not get in an attack with the Seeker. He did create a 3/3 Seeker, which would mean Paul doesn't fire up Shambling Vents to attack with.
Right, but wouldn't you rather have Paul attack with his Shambling Vent and then have an instant? There's not actually that many instants in Josh's deck that can trigger the Seeker there. There's only what does he have besides commands? Everything else is sorceries and counterspells. So there's a decent chance that Paul's just going to attack with his Shambling Vents, and then you basically get to eat one with the Seeker. Right.
I mean, Paul is attacking into Monk plus Seeker double blocking.
Well, right, but now you don't gain life. I mean...
No, I hear you.
That would have been a huge swing. I'm a little surprised that with Disdainful Stroke he used it that way. I don't...
Disdainful Stroke. You figure everything important that he would knock out of Paul's hand, he could just Disdainful Stroke?
Exactly. And then you're... Right. Especially because that's the one turn where you want... What do you have to flash back here? You don't have Ojutai's command, right? You have Kolaghan's command to get back Seeker the way, but then you're going to have to chump block again.
Well, he flashed back something. Cruise, right? Yeah, you flash back Treasure Cruise.
Oh, that's a good card.
Plus, I guess he had regrown the... Where'd that Mentor come from? That was his draw step. So his draw step was Monastery Mentor. He flips Jace and flashes back Treasure Cruise. Here's a Monk. Previous Monk is 2/2. And he's got some fresh cards in his hand. But Josh is at 1. Paul Rietzl, though, down to a single Shambling Vent here. And there's no reach in his deck. He does not have the ability to, burn him for that last point of damage. Exert Influence came off the Treasure Cruise, too. 29-1, but has Josh now taken total control of this game?
Well, this is the one thing Josh's deck can do. It can win. It can win quickly and be a little bit tough to disrupt when it gets to this spot.
Yeah.
But like I said, I still...
Back-to-back Caves of Coila is not going to get it done for Rietzl.
No. Radiant Flames is huge. I mean, huge, very impressed that Josh realized how important that the matchup needed that card.
Look at the triggers from Magmatic Insight.
It's a lot of triggers.
Only 6 of them. Now we're playing Vintage. Triggers everywhere. Monks everywhere. I guess the Seeker doesn't fit into the Vintage analogy. But it is going to quadruple Josh's life total when it attacks. Paul, of course, kept that Caves of Coilos in his hand, forcing Josh to play around everything he knows is in Paul's deck, but whatever. Josh has to attack. Shambling Vents can't block effectively this turn. Now it's 21-4.
No reason
Dragon
to cast anything.
Dragonlord Silumgar has joined the festivities for Josh. Ooh, Paul's going to get... Oh, he doesn't fire off the Duress. I guess he's waiting for something he wants to defend. He'll get some information about Josh's sideboard intentions when he does fire off that Duress. I don't think he dies this turn, does he?
It's another... It depends on what the insight draws, I guess.
Fair.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by that Colgan's command play.
It worked out. Doesn't mean it's right, but Josh sacrifices his Jace to flashback Magnetic Insight, getting all the prowess triggers for all the monks and throwing off a new monk in addition. He's got a backup Jace, so not that much cost there. What is he attacking for here? Maybe this is lethal.
It's a lot.
It's definitely a lot. Is it 21? Through a Shambling Vent?
It's funny that Paul could just draw like planar outburst. I mean, he would lose to disdainful stroke. He has Duress, right? Does he just win if he draws that? Oh no, because the secret away.
So your line for Paul is Duress your disdainful stroke planar outburst with Awaken, attack for the win with the land.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good line. You're right, he's not actually dead. That would be insane.
Yeah, it doesn't work against because the secret of the life, but I haven't seen a ton of Awaken in Constructed.
No.
I mean, obviously, I've seen the Esper decks that have the Awaken cards, but I haven't really seen Awaken affect any constructed outcomes.
So it's 2 prowess triggers right now, just the 2 insights, right? The monks are 3/3s, the seekers 4/4. Or did I miss one?
Yeah, I think he has to know he can't lose this game with his hand, though. I don't think that.
Sure.
Because even planar outburst wouldn't matter. So I'm not sure he would even want to show. Like I think he could like burn an Exert Influence here for a prowess trigger. Maybe that.
I think it's only 17, and there's still a enemy Shambling Vent.
Oh, the
so it's like 23 and a block. I don't think it's particularly close to lethal. I think you just say, here's 17. Rietzl probably goes to 4 here.
How much is planar outburst with Awaken? 8? 3 white and...
It's a good guess.
That's a good guess is all I could ask for, really. It's 8, yeah, 3 white and 5.
Okay. Who he is going to Ojutai's command here. Now, if that's just after blockers, okay, so that's lethal. So 17, Paul chose not to fire up Shambling Vents and block. I think he wanted to crack his fetch land, get 2 more lands, set himself up for this top deck, but Josh had an instant. Ojutai's command, 4 more prowess triggers, that turned 17 into 21, and we are on to game 3.
That was, yeah, that made me not love Josh's chances. I mean...
It was a lot of work to win that game, despite sticking to turn 2 Jace and flipping.
I mean, and what did Paul do? Like, all he did was cast walkers and get things counterspelled. That's all he did that game.
he has fired up Shambling Vents and attacked with them.
I mean, did he resolve? What did he resolve besides Hangerback walkers?
A Languish.
A Languish. The Languish was big. I can't even. He had some stasis snares, 2 stasis snares, 1 Languish, 2 Hangerback walkers.
The end.
He had to have cast something else, right?
I don't think so. I mean, he cast things. He just didn't resolve them.
I'm looking in the chat to see if someone else has an idea of anything he cast that game. But yeah.
All right. 1 game. The loser is out of the tournament. Will not be advancing to next week's playoff show. The winner gets a sweat. Gets to watch Li Shiqian and Chris Pakula. So, Chris, I assume you're rooting for Paul here, so you still have a scenario to back into the playoffs.
Yeah, obviously.
If Paul Rietzl wins, he needs Li Shiqian to beat Chris 2-0 in order for Paul to beat Chris on tiebreakers. So, if Paul wins, Chris only needs a single game win to advance. Pretty sure I got that right. Yeah, Chris can back in with a loss as long as it's a 1-2 loss and Paul beats Josh.
Oh, well, I mean, Paul's got the draw.
The draw? The carrier thrall.
And turn 4. He does not have it secure the waist, so.
True. Carrier
But
thrall
Josh
to
has
read the
two-
bends into Gideon.
Josh has Jace's and Magnetic Insight and Treasure Cruise, so he could burn through a lot of cards really quickly here if nothing foils his plan.
Paul's deck seems surprisingly soft to Jace, given that he's in the removal colors.
I mean, that's kind of how I feel about both these decks, that they have these surprisingly large holes in them. He's drawn both his Gideons, his two of 2. That's good.
Who wins in the fight between Jace and Gideon?
In this matchup, I think Gideon.
Well, here's Jace.
That does not do anything. Self-inflicted wound.
Does
I briefly
not kill
thought it was a
Jace.
removal spell, and I was like, oh.
Well, it is a removal spell, technically.
But still, without Mantis Rider, he knows that his turn 4 Gideon is still... I mean, obviously, it can get Disdainful Stroke. I keep forgetting about the 4 Disdainful Stroke.
Yeah. So Swamp and Wingmate Rock were the cards he was looking at on the Read the Bones. Pushed the Swamp, drew the Rock.
And a Planar Outburst, right?
Yep.
So here, now we're going to start Magnetic Insighting.
Yeah, this will allow him to flip Jace right away. I guess is how he wants to play this. He's only got the 1 land in his hand, though.
Yeah, this is... So his hand...
I guess he drew a land for his draw step, so...
Uh,
2 lands in hand makes that Magnetic Insight a lot easier.
Yep. And now he also gets a draw from Jace, so I think he would cast it there. So now he's going to get to play his Seeker.
Yep.
Although, no, he's probably just going to leave up Disdainful Stroke. He can't really...
He does have to decide, play Seeker, leave up Disdainful Stroke. I'm with you. It feels like he kind of has to leave up Disdainful Stroke against this deck.
I mean, Jace is going to beat Carrier Thrall in the battle, so... With 4 Disdainful Strokes in your deck, it does seem like... And he can flashback Magnetic Insights, and he can cast Treasure Cruise, so it does seem like you're better off leaving up Disdainful Stroke. There's no reason to go to try to win the game fast here. There's that Secure the Wastes.
Now, did Paul just say go here? Yeah, he does. He's just going to sit on Secure the Waste mana. He sees blue and 1 over there. He knows Josh has 4 main deck Disdainful Strokes. Josh didn't do anything else, so Paul reads him correctly for a stroke, and is not going to feed anything into it.
So are you assuming now that Paul is going to go for the end of the turn Secure the Wastes?
Yeah, I think so.
Kind of feel like he has to.
I completely agree. I mean, if it gets stroked, the coast is clear to resolve Gideon or Wingmate, right?
Yeah. Well, Wingmate... Oh, no, he has the Carrier Throw, right? I keep forgetting.
He can attack
Throw,
even
no, it's a 0.
power.
It's still attack.
Can still trigger raid. Now, I mean, Josh is in kind of a tricky spot. He doesn't really want to play against these 1/1s.
He's got to let it resolve. This is where having the Seeker in play is good, but now the Self-Inflicted Wound actually does something, which is, I'm sure, something that Josh is sad about. I mean, this is Self-Inflicted Wound, fine, it's okay, but like, you're pretty sad, but it actually does something meaningful, I think.
So all 3 tokens attack Jace. Jace is down to 4 loyalty, and Paul plays a 2-mana spell that is a hanger back.
So he could use one of those Radiant Flames, right?
Yeah, true story. That's how he won the last game, was with the top deck Radiant Flames. And once again, Paul has sort of artfully played around the permission in Josh's hand and gotten himself into a winning board state.
He wins a lot of games by drawing his 1 Secure the Wastes.
All right, fine.
I mean, it's a good card. He
didn't draw last game. He did maneuver his way into a winning position last game until the Radiant Flames came off.
Well, we already determined that last game he only resolved 5 spells. So
because he was picking his spots. All right, Josh resolves a Treasure Cruise. Don't know what he found yet.
No blue mana up?
Wow. Only has the 2. Used one of it on Treasure Cruise. Uses the other on Jace. So
Wow.
yeah, here is a window with no blue mana for Josh Utter-Leyton.
That. And
Paul
once again,
decides to go for a Gideon emblem.
when you know you're
Could've-
only, when you know Paul only has 2 Gideons, it makes going for leaving, not leaving up blue mana more palatable.
Wow, and Paul said, I don't care about Jace. I'm going for you. Josh Utter-Leyton is down to 5 now. I thought Paul might have attacked Jace there. He could have killed it, but he'd rather kill Josh, especially with a backup Jace in play.
Jace doesn't do anything here, really.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. It blunts future attacks a little bit. Would replay something potentially.
He does
But
not have
nothing
the mana. He does not have the mana to Ojutai's command into Radiant Flames. He isn't dead though, so if he plays a block, he's still not dead.
Mentor with Disdainful Stroke mana untapped.
Mentor with Disdainful Stroke mana. He has 2 blockers because Jace can block. What is he doing?
Dragon Lord Silumgar.
Taking the Hangerback Walker.
Take your tapped 1/1 Hangerback Walker.
This seems really risky against like Stasis Snare. I'm not sure I like that. I don't get.
I mean, he has to gamble at some level. Oh, geez, Sorin?
Right, but
what does Sorin do?
Isn't getting the Mentor onto the table just really valuable? I'm a little surprised. Josh is one of those players who, similar to Eric Froelich, who I know they are better than I am at Magic, but they consistently don't make the same play I would make, which is not surprising. But I feel like someone like Paul makes the play I would make if I was playing my best, I feel like. I'm just not always playing I'm not always that good. Where Josh takes different long-term lines that I would take.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm confident they are both better than I am at Magic.
Wow. Paul has some options. He can Sorin and plus it. He can Gideon for a second emblem. He can Gideon and plus it. Or 0 it.
Right. Of course, I also know that I did commentary with Josh the first week, I think. And I just talking to him that one night, he's definitely willing to take risks. When he thinks that I have to take a risk to win, he's willing to do it.
Yep.
If he knows he's an underdog and that he's not going to make the safe play if that safe play still leads to losing an overwhelming amount of time. He would rather gamble and try to actually swing it to a win if the gamble pays off. It seems like he's a little more willing to do that than some players. So I'm still kind of surprised, only because it seems so good to get the Mentor onto the table. Especially because in this case, you're not losing to...
But you're being attacked by a bunch of 2/2s, and you don't have an instant to trigger prowess.
True.
The odds of Paul playing something pre-combat that you can Disdainful Stroke.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
That the Mentor doesn't actually impact the board this turn, whereas Dragon Silumgar clearly does.
The fact that they're 2/2s is does change it. I just totally forgot they were 2/2s. You're absolutely right. Because he shrinks 1, but then he would still have to...
Yeah, it's 6 power coming over.
Yeah.
Even after the Jace shrink.
Well, he can block a Jace and flip it and lose his... He wouldn't... Oh, no, he would lose it, but that's fine. So he would have to go to 1 to have cast Mentor. Oh, no, because the Hangerback. No, I'm sorry. He'd have to chump block. I'm totally wrong.
Yeah, there'd be a Hangerback on Paul's side. So, all right. Here come 3 2-power creatures into Silumgar and Jace. Interesting. I guess this means Paul has decided Wingmate is the play for the turn.
Why
now, what does Josh do?
Back.
It's 0 power. The 0 power one stays back.
Oh, that's a 0 power. I can't see it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's a little hard to see. Yeah, that's definitely the O2. All right, Silumgar is going to block 1. Jace is going to block the other. Now, Jace can loot, but not flip. This is a chump block from Jace.
For some reason, I was thinking you would always want to 0 the Thrall, but because don't you want the Thrall to... You don't want to block and kill the Thrall.
Jace jump blocks. Silumgar takes some damage, and yeah, Paul's like, I got through 2 damage. I triggered raid. Here's a Wingmate rock.
Wingmate
I've
rock.
still got Soren and Gideon in my hand for later. Good luck to you, sir.
Wingmate rock not as good. And Josh has one of his flyers, one of his few flyers in play.
Sure.
So now he can minus one of the Wingmate rocks. He can play. He now has Mentor and Ojutai's command. That's huge. Just huge. Well, Josh has if Josh wins this game, it's going to be another one where he comes back from like 20-1.
Yeah. It's been a fun match.
This has been a fun match.
As you predicted, Jace shrinks 1 Wingmate. And this sure looks like Mentor coming down. He's got enough mana to leave up Ojutai's command, right? Yeah.
Now this is big because he can actually proactively cast an instant, which is a thing he couldn't do before.
Right.
Languish.
Yeah. Oh boy.
So his rocks do live because of the Gideon emblem.
Soren also